got to understand that hip-hop was really created in the ghettos, you know, poor black Americans, poor West Indians, and poor Puerto Ricans. Places like the South Bronx, you know, the West Bronx, where, you know, Bambaataa and Herc and these folks are throwing parties, they were considered like war zones.
South Bronx, the South Bronx.
Beginning in 1946 and ending in 1963, the construction of the Cross Bronx Expressway ripped the Bronx in half. Urban planners and developers led by Robert Moses showed little concern for the people who lived in the borough and displaced thousands of residents and small business owners, leaving in its wake a poor, devastated community with little outside help from politicians.
The mainstream media would call it Fort Apache, you know what I'm saying? People were terrified to go in the Bronx, or you might go in, but you're not gonna come out. They called it the Bronx Zoo, and the Bronx Zoo literally became the metaphor for the whole borough. I mean, and you know, that's horrible because they were talking about black and Latino people. All of that fed into what was becoming hip-hop.
The culture and the energy that came from that was a very improvisational energy, a very sort of reclaiming energy that young folks, through dance, through rapping and DJing and so on and so forth, that is how the culture took hold. It was a willed response to systematic violence in the community. And when I say violence, I mean like destroying homes. Imagine someone putting a highway through your neighborhood. Then you can understand hip-hop.
I decided to go to the Bronx, the birthplace of hip-hop. I talked to the reigning king of the boogie down, Fat Joe. I wanted to ask Fat Joe, why is it so important to be hard in hip-hop?
It is to be hard. Everybody wants to be hard, and this is one of the things I told you, one of the flaws in like being from the hood. Like, everybody wants to be hard. You know what I'm saying? And it's like that. You see people forget Fat Joe because you see other people just grab the mic and they transform into a whole different person. When they walking around the club, I'm wondering why we can't just walk around and smile at each other. Why we all there to do the same thing, have a nice time, party and get drunk and enjoy the music, but we all looking at everybody like, and this be writers, journalists like you know, it'd be good people working who be up in the club like, I'm saying it's something, I don't even know, I can't answer that.
The reason why braggadocio and boast is so central to the history of hip-hop is because you're dealing with the history of black men in America. And there's a whole lineage of black men wanting to deny their own frailty. And so in some ways you have to do that, you know, like a psychic armor in order to walk out into the world every day. But the other side of it is like, it's kind of a running inside joke that everyone knows, you know, that is not the case.
I'm doing my hardcore pose, homie. Word. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
We tough, dude.
Most lean in this way a little more to the light.
I'm gonna do
feel a light
gun
on you.
position and everything.
There you go.
Cause we gangsters, son.
Sounds like a show.
You know what I'm saying? Word. We hustlers and all of that. We duct tape families, dude.
At a recording session in New York City, I met up with Busta Rhymes, Mos Def, Talib Kweli, and De La Soul. I told them about the young rappers I had met back in Daytona, and we discussed why so many rappers project an image of toughness and invulnerability in hip-hop.
I think that's just a part of every man's life, you know. Every man wants respect, you know. You don't want nobody taking you for short. And that's what it be.
Hip-hop is a very ego-driven thing, and, you know, it just, you know, it encourages you to assert yourself. You know what I'm saying? And as a man, especially a black man in this society, you have to learn how to do that.
I was a nerd. I was a bookworm around the way, but when it got critical, you know, you can't be no punk. That's just for, you know, I know how a lot of young black men is growing up, how I grew up. So it's like, you can't let nobody just, you gotta be a limit. You gotta let niggas know, like, yo, I'm no pussy. And you will get tested.
I was from East Flatbush, Brooklyn. I thought Long Island was soft. My mom's told me we had to go. I was vexed. I ain't even gonna front. I got to Long Island, I saw flower beds and the newspaper boy in the morning. You know, I saw dew on the grass when I came outside. I ain't never seen a BK, nigga. You know what I'm saying? So that type to me was just a lot more intimate than Brooklyn. So at the end of the day, I just felt like this would dilute my rough and tough edge. And
we're playing a role from the time we're 7 years old. We walk down the street in the neighborhood and somebody calls us a sissy, a sucker, church boy. Then we start playing that role. When I see young fathers with their children, I'm always happy. But when I see them, you know, punch their child in the chest and say, nigga, you got to be ready for this.
Streets, the cops, the system, harassment, the options, get shot, go to jail, or get shot. The lawyers, the part, they are of the puzzle, the release, the warning, try not to get in trouble.
I just think in general our society limits the range in which men can express their emotions.
I told it, I ain't never scared, I ain't never scared, I ain't never scared.
You just have to have your game face on all the time. Like, you can't cry in front of your boy. You just can't do it.
If you're a young man growing up in this culture and the culture is telling you that being a man means being powerful, being dominant, being in control, having the respect of your peers, but you don't have a lot of real power, well, one thing that you do have access to is your body and your ability to present yourself, you know, physically as somebody who's worthy of respect. And I think that's one of the things that accounts for a lot of the hypermasculine posturing by a lot of young men of color and a lot of working class white guys as well. Men who have more power, men who have financial power and workplace authority and forms of abstract power like that don't have to be as physically powerful because they can exert their power in other ways.
The hardness that you're talking about was accelerated as the stuff that was happening during the Reagan-Bush era really was taking place. The whole crack thing, proliferation of guns, a lot of us going up to prison, you know what I mean? And you got to be hard within the context of prison. And then a lot of the mentalities that you see come out of, you know, these forced environments, the gang environment, the prison environment. Sooner or later, all the stuff that we saw happening in the streets was going to begin to be reflected in the music and the culture.
Hey, yo, I'm living a life, and I'm loving every bit of it. Y'all niggas started, but we gon' finish it. Yeah. Mac with extended clips, clap at the innocent, clap at the bystanders, clap at the witnesses. You can always find me flipping bricks in the kitchen, and my connect so real, I get it in prison.
Where you from, Harlem Streets? Dog, I'm from the FL. I'll punch you in your brain and make your swell. White nigga, I run the street, nigga, come on.
The dominant image of black masculinity in hip-hop is the fact that somebody can be confrontational, but confrontational with the wrong cat. It's like they're not ever confrontational with the cats that will claim, like, you know, I'll wipe your whole neighborhood out, because they're almost like they're trained not to even see them. It's like my beef is with this cat right here that looks just like me. The rise of the culture of black animosity is something that adds to the street credibility factor. It's like almost to the point where Tupac and Biggie were used as martyrs for this new endorsement of black animosity.
I asked rapper Jadakiss about his and other rappers' nonchalance about violent hip-hop lyrics.
Sometimes, man, when I'm listening to you, it seems like it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like y'all are desensitized to violence. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you talk about killing brothers like it ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? And not just you, but a lot of brothers. You know what I'm saying?
Do you watch movies? What kind of movies do you watch?
Good question. I mean, if you watch Hollywood movies, you see the same kind of violence, the same kind of hyper-masculine violence perpetuated in movie after movie after movie. In sports culture, video games, in military culture. I mean, America is a very hyper-masculine, hyper-aggressive nation.
We're gonna smoke them out.
So it stands to reason that a rapper like 50 Cent can be commercially viable in a nation that supports a culture of violence.
We live in a society, man, where we, you know, manhood is all about conquering and violence, man, all the time. And what we don't realize, that kind of definition of manhood ultimately destroys you.
Niggas in my faction don't like asking questions. Strictly gun testing, coke measuring, giving pleasuring, the Benzito, hitting pennies, spending chips at Manny's. Hope you creeps got receipts. My peeps get dirty like cleats. Run up in your crib, wrap you in your polo sheets. Six up in your windpiece, nigga deceased. Why? May you rest in peace.